You know, if a Toyota Yaris GR and a Ford Ranger Raptor made sweet, passionate love and then got pregnant and had a baby, this could possibly be the result. Look, obviously I'm joking because neither of those cars have a womb. What you are actually looking at is one of the most successful competition cars of all time. Not this particular one, this is the road-going version, but yeah, the Pajero Evolution in race trim, super successful. But just because it was incredibly dominant in competition, that doesn't mean that it's any good here in like the real world. Plus it is a 25-year-old SUV, so surely some things must be going wrong with it. Tell you what, how about we go and find out? Let's do this. Okay, now the Pajero Evolution, actually, you know what, from now on I'm going to call it the Evo because I'm Australian and we abbreviate everything, and also Pajero Evolution just takes far too long to say. Also, Pajero kind of translates to jerk off or wanker in Spanish, which seems appropriate for me. Anyway, the Evo here has won more back-to-back rallies than any other rally car, including a first, second, third and fourth finishing place in the 1998 Dakar Rally. But more importantly, the Evo is one of the coolest vehicles money can buy, not because of the amazing bodywork and all the special features that we'll get to in a second, but because it's a true homologation special. That means for Mitsubishi to compete in what is arguably the toughest motorsport event in the world, the Dakar Rally, they had to produce a bunch of road-going variants of the competition car, and they ended up making nearly 2,700 of these. But don't think for a second it's just some like 90s two-door Pajero with a body kit. Oh no. It is so much more than that. From 1997 to 1999, Mitsubishi, or more accurately, Mitsubishi's Motorsport Division Rally Art, strengthened the chassis, installed a faster steering rack, swapped out the Pajero's factory-fitted live axle setup, and installed an independent double wishbone suspension both front and back, with bespoke springs and struts, plus limited slip diffs were thrown in for ultimate traction from all four wheels, while Mitsubishi's Super Select four-wheel drive system, still featuring a centered diff and low range like the normal Pajero, was retuned to suit the Evo's needs. Engine-wise, the 3.5-litre 24-valve V6 was modified extensively for the Evo, with forged internals, unique cylinder heads with variable valve timing, and an ECU tuned to suit, all combining to pump out 205 kilowatts or 275 brake horsepower. But guys, let's be honest here, like all 90s JDM cars like this, chances are it's putting out a lot more than that. Transmission-wise, the vast majority available will be fitted with a modified 5-speed automatic. However, for the purists, a mere 634 featured a 5-speed manual. And guess what? This car is one of those 634. And also, even though there was only technically one Evo trim spec, there were a whole bunch of awesome optional extras that we'll cover shortly. Now look, obviously there are loads of other specific details, and if you do want to see those details, jump on ReDriven.com and check out the awesome and completely free ReDriven cheat sheet. And then we come to the bodywork, or the exterior, the sexy as hell exterior. You know what, I've come to realize that in my life, one of the things that really turns me on are pumped arches. I adore pumped arches. It's funny because these things are so copious in size. It should look like a bit of a dodgy aftermarket body kit, but because I think we know that this thing was designed to handle serious abuse, it just adds legitimacy to all of this, everything going on. And then there's all like the little design highlights I love, like this bonnet bulge and vent. The fender mounted mirror, it's just oh so Japanese. Like the whole front bar treatment is completely unique to this car, plus the bash plate, plus like the raised Evolution stickers there. These vents that actually vent. The chunky side skirts with a step and more raised Evolution stickers. And then these little winglets, like this is all designed in a wind tunnel for aerodynamics, but it gives it this kind of like little devil horns appearance. Like even the wheels and the tires and the ride height, it all just works. It's not traditionally pretty as such, but because you know all of this is for a reason, and that reason is to win rallies and competition events, it's just so cool. Also, fun fact, just size-wise, it's actually shorter than a Volkswagen Golf, and the wheelbase is shorter than a Volkswagen Polo. So even though it looks kind of tough and nuggety, it's actually technically got an almost shorter footprint than like a lot of hot hatches. Okay, now we're going to introduce a whole new thing in ReDriven videos from now on. It's called the TBTL factor, or the turn back to look factor. It's when you're walking away from a car and you kind of have a look back at it. For me, the TBTL of this car, easily a 10. Every time I walk away from it, I have to look back and glare at it. TBTL 10 basically impossible to beat. Now guys, we just have to pay some bills for a second. If that bothers you and you hate saving money, just skip ahead about 30 seconds. First up, a massive thank you to our finance partner, Driver. Guys, if you need help financing your next car, go to Driver, because the whole thing can be done online so simply. You can get pre-approval in literally just minutes, and there are no hidden fees. Head to the link down there to get started. And next up, the best wipers we have ever used, WIPERTECH. Easy to order, easy to install, they fit perfectly. And if you order them from the link down there, you're going to get 15% off and get express shipping for free. Now, interior-wise, this is where some of the, I suppose, negatives of being a homologation special can arise. See, while it's like a bespoke built rally weapon, stage and rally wins have very little to do with like a luxurious interior. And a luxurious interior, this is not. So basically, it's the interior of a 90s Pajero, just with some Recaro seats bolted in so you don't slide out the door when you're going around corners. And all this means that it's basically a very practical design in here. There's nothing kind of special going on. Even the materials used, it does feel, let's say, budget conscious. Like the fabrics and the carpet are clearly a bit cheap. It's just a sea of grey and black plastic, all, and this is going to depend on your opinion, either ruined or highlighted by this fake carbon fibre trim. Now the Recaros themselves, guys, typical Recaros, they're about perfect. They're super, super comfortable. Also super, super supportive. Even the driving position, I was expecting this to feel like driving like a little truck, and it does a bit. Like it's sort of like, again, halfway between like a hatchback and an SUV. So yeah, it's nice. The actual driving position is quite good. You obviously do sit up quite high, and little things like the actual gear selector is, you know, a bit of a distance down from the steering wheel, but again, it all adds to the charm and character of driving it. Now, obviously the wear and tear is going to vary depending on which example you're looking at. This one has just over 130,000 Ks on it, and wear and tear is quite good. Like the texture on the steering wheel is getting a little bit smooth here and there, but that can be restored, or you can actually just get that retrimmed. The gear selector, like there's still texture left on that. Door cards are in good shape. The seats, the fabric is in really good nick. The carpet is, I'm not going to say it's seen better days, but it's clearly been used, and it could do with some floor mats. There's floor mats on the driver's side, but not on the passenger side. We've got to fix that up. But overall, wear and tear in here, yeah, good. For, like, you know, it's what, nearly 25 years old. It's really good. Now, as far as practicality goes, you've got like quite a cute little glove box there. You've got a little cubby hole here. You've got a power outlet here. There's a little tray here for things to slide out and go under your feet. There are door bins, but they're only really thick enough or wide enough for things that have 2 dimensions. There's an ashtray and a cigarette lighter, which is disgusting. There's weirdly, like this car was designed well and truly before your phone, but there's a spot that really nicely fits the phone just there. Just near there you have slide out, pop out cup holders and a tiny little cubby hole in the middle. That's quite small considering the size of the car. It also has 2 trays. So actually, does that fit a phone? No. Nokia 3210 will fit, nothing of this generation. Now, getting into the back seat is a bit of a faff around. You've got to slide the seat forward, and then there's like a little lever here to flip that forward. But then there's not much of an aperture to get into, so you've got to do a little bit of gymnastics. Oh God, oh well. Okay, now in the back seat, I'm exactly 12 centimeters taller than the average Senegalese male. As we all know, Dakar is the capital of Senegal. This is in my driving position, and it's bloody interesting. First of all, feet. You have heaps of foot room as long as they're in the one position, which is kind of off-centered to the right or left if you're over there. Because if you go left and right with your feet, you smash into the structure that holds the seat up. Next, the actual seating position, I don't think I've ever sat more upright. I feel like I'm like a perfect 90-degree angle, like textbook sitting position like this. Then knees. I have heaps of knee room on the left, but no knee room on the right. It's smashing up against the seat. But in saying that, you've got huge windows, so it feels kind of airy and spacious, and there's lots of headroom. It's both lovely and terrible all at the same time back here. As far as wear and tear in the backseat of this particular Evo, look, none, because like no one in their right mind over 4 foot tall would sit back here. But then practicality in the backseat is actually quite good. You've got like a little storage bin down here. You've got an ashtray. Disappointing. You've got a cup holder and a little tray, and these also flip up and away, so you've got a little bit more space here. You've got grab handles. It's actually, like, considering you really shouldn't sit back here, it's quite practical back here. Now, practicality in the boot, even with the seats up, is actually quite good. Plus, because of the height of it, it's just so easy to put things in. You don't have to like lean down like a normal car, just slide it straight in. But then, when you fold the seats down, you've got like two options. So you can fold them this way, so you have like kind of two shelving levels, but then you can actually flip these all the way up, like this. So then you've got heaps more space. Not heaps, but like heaps considering the size of the car. And then the last thing in terms of practicality, you've got like a little hidden toolkit back here. How good's that? Brilliant, Mitsubishi. Now, as far as tech goes, guys, it's from the 90s from Japan. It has hardly any real tech. Like there's no phone connectivity at all. In saying that, this is like a standard 2-DIN fascia, so there are plenty of options if you do want to fit Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So you've got loads of space for that. As well, you can fit reversing cameras and parking sensors if you really, really want to. Also, we have noticed that there is a kit available to replace these gauges with a screen up here. Personally, I'm just not into it. I feel like the gauges kind of add to the 90s charm of this. Sticking a great big screen up there, it kind of ruins the whole aesthetic. Maybe that's just me because I'm a bit of a wanker like that. But look, aside from the lack of phone connectivity tech, you will get climate control, some really cool gauges as we just covered, a rubbish sounding 4-speaker stereo, central locking, and that's about it. However, find an Evo where the original owner ticked all of the option boxes and you get some really cool stuff. We're talking front bumper spotlights, mud flaps, this funky fuel filler flap, racing style decals, and more. Now, safety-wise, look, being honest, it's not exactly drenched in safety gear, because I think the assumption was it would have a roll cage, safety harnesses, and anyone sitting in here would be wearing a helmet. But to take you through exactly what safety features that you can expect, it seems only right that we do this like we're commentating the Dakar Rally. It might be a 4-wheel drive rally weapon, which equates to immense road holding ability. But when it comes to the actual safety equipment, well, it has ABS, a couple of airbags, traction control, seat belts, and that's about it. The real safety levels comes down to the skills behind the wheel. And again, guys, for all of the specific details on all of this stuff, ReDriven.com, check out the cheat sheet. Okay, so what is this thing like to drive? First of all, look, don't get us wrong, we would love to wring this thing's neck and show you what it's like driving on the limit. But the thing is, this isn't ours, it's actually for sale, and we're here in Sydney, which is the land of hidden speed cameras and the most vigilant highway patrol force in all of the land. So, yeah, we have to behave. But it is a Mitsubishi wearing Evolution stickers, so it still should be very enthusiastic at getting to the speed limit. Let's see what it's like. So, second gear, flooring it from 15k an hour. Yeah, okay. It's not fast, but it's fast enough. For what it is, for what this thing's supposed to do, that feels good. Like it progresses really nicely. It feels strong, kind of muscular. It's not like pin you back in the seat, kind of tuned Volkswagen Golf R fast, but yeah, like for what this is, I'm happy with that. Okay, next up, transmission. Look, I'll be honest, the shift feel, it does feel like the shift feel from an SUV. I was honestly kind of hoping for like a shorter, notchier throw. Maybe you can get like a short shift kit for it. Standard, it's okay. It doesn't feel like it's worn down over years. It just feels like this is what it felt like when it was brand new. But yeah, just I wish like when you're kind of going through some corners and going up and down the ratios, it's not, I don't know, not the most engaging shift feel. But the good news is you do get Mitsubishi's excellent Super Select 4-wheel drive system, which means that you can drive it in rear-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive like high range, 4-wheel drive high range with the center diff lock on. You can do all this on sealed surfaces as well, which is awesome. And there's also 4-wheel drive low range with the diff lock on for like serious off-roading. Plus it has diff locks front and rear. So basically you have like a powertrain setup that's good for kind of any scenario you throw at it. Okay, now ride quality is an interesting one. What I've found is that the more you kind of get into it, the more the ride kind of makes sense. What it does on certain bumps, like those initial impacts, it is a bit harsh. It doesn't sort of float around afterwards. Like there's nice control, but yeah, again, I was hoping for a little bit more maybe overall compliance, even at kind of, let's say, low frequency bumps. I'm sounding like a car journalist wanker now. My apologies. Now, handling wise is so much fun because what it does, it obviously pitches and rolls a little bit. But it's like, how do I describe this? It's like when it pitches over, you can kind of settle it on the one kind of angle of degree. So as you're going around a corner, you kind of set it up for the corner and just kind of sit there, kind of like coolly hanging out, like on an angle, and then it kind of comes back around. But it's always controlled, like it feels confident, but it's almost like, it kind of feels like a jacked up MX-5. Now, sound-wise, there have been some complaints about like rattles and squeaks going on because it's a 25-year-old Mitsubishi four-wheel drive, so there's lots of hard plastics. In this particular example, hardly any. You can hear little tiny rattles here and there, but not bad at all. And engine note-wise, as you heard before, when you're kind of getting up it, yeah, it sounds sonorous enough. Now, some of the owners groups have stated that if you hear any creaking sounds, like coming from the suspension, that can be just dust in the bushes. In this car, yeah, none. Sounds perfect. But look, overall, what's it like to drive? There's just something about these cars that are homologation specials. Like excuse me for a sec, I'm gonna sound like a complete wanker talking about this car like this, but there's this, I don't know, there's like a depth of ability behind it. Like, you know what it's capable of. You know this thing can win rally stages. So when you're driving around town, it just, you know what it's like? It's like training for martial arts, not hoping to ever get in a fight, but there's a confidence that comes when you know martial arts and know you can look after yourself. It's a bit the same with this. Like, you know you're never going to go on a rally stage or, you know, compete in it, but just knowing that it can win at those things, it just gives you this confidence and this feeling of just effortless coolness. It's so enjoyable to drive. It's so unique and special. Okay, now pricing here in Australia, it kicks off from around about $50,000 and tops out at around about $70,000. And that might seem like a lot of money to pay for what is just a small two-door 90s Mitsubishi SUV. But you know what? That's around about the same asking price as another homologation special, the Toyota Yaris GR. But this thing is more practical. It offers arguably just as unique a driving experience, and you won't have to jack it up to take it off-road. Also, with the prices of like rare and unique 90s JDM cars going through the absolute roof at the moment, 50 to 70 grand for something as amazing as this might seem like a bargain in the not too distant future. Like, I remember when you could pick up an R34 Nissan GTR for 50 to 70 grand. Not anymore. And if you are genuinely in the market for one of these, it is absolutely imperative that you buy it through a trusted grey importer like the guys at Go Garage that lent us this Pajero Evolution. It is a grey import, and unfortunately a lot of grey importers out there can be really dodgy. We've heard reports of like odometers being wound back, documents being falsified. If you're buying any grey import, go to a qualified and reputable, grey importer like Go Garage. And look, it might be like a bespoke, near hand-built homologation special, but underneath this bodywork is a whole lot of kind of normal Mitsubishi Pajero parts. So chances are a lot of the mechanical stuff you can just get from your local Mitsubishi dealership. And even then, it doesn't require some exotic repairer to maintain or fix any of that stuff. Actually, speaking of repairing it, guess what's coming up next? Okay, problems with the exterior. Look, first of all, yeah, it is a bespoke purpose-built machine, but it's a bespoke purpose-built machine still built on the platform of like a two-door 90s Pajero, so it can suffer from some of those same issues like rust. Get underneath and look honestly everywhere for rust and corrosion. Places around the doors, the boot, inside the wheel arches, the base of the roof. Look, honestly, just check everywhere. Now, being so rare and collectible, these things generally do have a faultless exterior, but there are still a few things you do need to be aware of. See, let's say like somebody runs into you in a car park. The problem is, like, even though like the door handles and a lot of the mechanical components are shared with other Pajeros, all of this body kit stuff, obviously it's not, and getting these body kit parts can be a real challenge. They generally have to come from Japan, they're probably going to be expensive, and it's going to take time to find. Even like these raised stickers, the Evolution stickers, finding those, apparently they're only available in Japan if you want the legitimate ones, and they cost hundreds of dollars. Also, it is a performance SUV and one that has been clearly designed to go off-road. Not that many owners do take them off-road, but just in case, go and watch our Ultimate 4x4 Buyer's Guide, because it'll give you all the tips on what to look for when buying not just one of these, but any 4x4. Now inside, thanks to it being incredibly simple, not a whole lot goes wrong. There are some reports that the bolsters on the Recaros, they can get a bit squidgy if they haven't been looked after, and really odd sporadic reports of, little electronic gremlins here and there. But I've got to say, super rare, and even then, they're generally really easy and cheap to fix. Now, before we get into mechanically what goes wrong with these, guys, if you're enjoying this video and ReDriven in general, how about hitting that like and subscribe button? And if you really want to support us, go and join our Patreon. Okay, now mechanically, what goes wrong with the Evo? Well, I can't tell you because I'm not a qualified mechanic. That'd be crazy. But you know who is? It's Jim.
Look, I really didn't want to say anything good about these. In fact, I went looking for as much bad information as I could because I didn't want to add to the hype on these and push the prices up even more, because the truth is I really want one. I always have, but you know, I can't help that. But in all seriousness, they are actually pretty reliable. You'll find that any V6 Mitsubishi of this era, it will be leaking oil. Especially the high mileage ones. They also will consume oil, and they will also burn a lot of oil through the valve stem seals. That was always a V6, or actually any Mitsubishi engine from this era, valve stem seals always leak, and they stink, they're horrible. The heads on these are different to the ordinary 3.5 litre V6 Pajero. They're a twin cam per bank head, and they have the MyVec cam timing geometry in them. Typically pretty reliable, although the hydraulic lifters, when they get a bit worn, they start rattling a little bit. Very rarely do they make the car stop, but fresh oil sometimes help, but typically you've got to replace them all. Not common though. The timing belt on these is due at 100,000 Ks. Now, because a lot of these are grey imports and you don't necessarily know the service history, it'd be a good idea just to get the belt done no matter what. The transmissions and drive lines, the manual transmissions are very strong, pretty stout. The clutches can get a bit slippy after a while, like any manual. The automatic transmissions are actually really strong. Most of these were automatics. Again, if you're getting one, just service it straight away just to make sure it's okay. These things adopted the independent rear end from the later model Gen 3 Pajeros. Typically in those, there are hardly any problems. Some of them, there were occasionally some drive shaft issues, but absolutely not common at all. We do find that the Pajeros of the same age are a little bit hard on wheel bearings, so just make sure those are okay too. Other than that, on these things, it's age-related issues. You'll find that everything made of rubber is starting to deteriorate. All the suspension bushes and the diff housing bushes, they're all going to be starting to deteriorate. That's okay, it's not going to stop the car, but just be prepared to start investing in that stuff as you go. But these things, because they're a homologation special, absolutely 100% worth investing in.
Okay, so should you buy one? Actually, you know, forget that question. The question should be, hey, why don't you own one yet? The Pajero Evolution offers everything we love about hot hatches, but it takes away the stress that comes with the lowered ride height, like hitting potholes or slowing down for speed humps. It then adds everything we love about off-roaders, but injects an engine that has real character, dimensions that are easy to deal with in the real world, and handling and dynamics that the majority of off-roaders could only ever dream of. Like, unlike a host of other performance SUVs, this thing has like a depth and a character and like a level of credibility that they can only dream of, especially for what these are asking. Basically, this isn't just like the ultimate compact performance SUV. For me, this is one of the ultimate forms of four-wheel transport. I want one of these so badly, it kind of hurts. So guys, go buy some new wipers from WIPERTECH, go and get your next car financed through Driver so those guys can pay me so I can afford to buy this. That'd be awesome, thank you. But in all seriousness, guys, what do we think of the Pajero Evolution? Am I carrying on too much? Am I far too in love with this? And if so, what else would you buy that does everything that this can do? Let us know in the comments. See you next time. Hey, anyhow, oh, good start. Like the whole front bar treatment's totally... Shut up, bird. And also, look, it might be like a bespoke... We're going to have the TBTL factor. TBL... What's wrong with my brain, Sam?